Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment of our show brought to you by the Tapoco Lodge. The Lodge is open again for weekend business right now. They're gearing up for their full spring reopening, which will be March 12th. So just about 3 weeks away. They will have the Tapoco Tavern open. The Lodge will be open Monday through Friday. Right now it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get up there, stay in one of their suites. Their cabins are available right by the rushing Chiowa River. It's a beautiful setting. It really is. I talk about it every week. It's gorgeous. You got to see it for yourself. Just take a drive up there. The Tapoco Lodge. Find out more at tapoco.com or visit their Facebook page. All right, let's welcome in the next two members of today's show. We have right here from WNML AM and FM, Jimmy Hyams. Jimmy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Right down there from GoVols247.com. Ryan Callahan, thanks for being back with us.
Absolutely.
And Chuck's still down there. All right, let's take a look. Tennessee is filling out their coaching roster. Finally, it took a while to get the defensive side of the thing filled up. They're starting to get there. 10 of the 11 spots on this staff appear to be locked in at this point. We'll just run through them top to bottom. You got Josh Heupel, of course, head coach, and he's going to be the play caller. So you've got a different offensive coordinator, but the play caller is going to be Heupel. You see that he was at UCF. You know that. You've got the offensive staff was pretty much set with Golesh, Halsley, Ellerby, Mack, Burns. This week they finally get their defensive coordinator, Jimmy. Last Sunday we said, where's this thing going? You said, well, I think the next guy on the list is Tim Banks. Tim Banks, you were right. That's who's coming in as defensive coordinator. He had been the co-defensive coordinator at Penn State. Let's stop right now and just talk about the addition of Tim Banks. Thoughts on what he brings to the table? Good hire, bad hire, where are you?
It was interesting. I was talking to a coach that I bounced a lot of stuff off in regard to it. He said, look, he's a really good person. He will develop players. The players will love playing for him. But he said he doesn't have that much experience as a coordinator, and he said he had a little bit of a concern about that. So he's been a co-coordinator at some spots. He's been the coordinator at a smaller school, Central Michigan. But I think that he's going to be a little bit behind the eight ball. One, because of the lack of experience of being the defense coordinator and calling signals, and secondly, the roster. Well, I'll add a third one, the up-tempo offense that Tennessee's going to run. I think he's got a heck of a challenge going forward. He may do a really good job, but I'm not sure the resume suggests that he will.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not sure they could have done much better. I mean, right. Kevin Steele was there, and I think it was clear they weren't going to go in the Kevin Steele direction. But other than Kevin Steele, there just weren't many people that were interested in this job right now for all the reasons you stated, plus the NCAA sanctions hanging overhead. Ryan, your thoughts on Tim Banks? What are you hearing out there in recruiting circles and everything else about this guy?
Yeah, I think solid hire overall. I think that as far as the recruiting perception, good recruiter in the Detroit area. So he'll give Tennessee something a little different there. He's from the Detroit area, has some good ties up there, signed 5 4-star players at Penn State during his time there. So that's going to help to have some ties in a different area to expand the footprint. But that's kind of secondary, I think, with a defensive coordinator. You want a play caller and a schemer first and foremost. He's at least done it before, and I like that. It was interesting to me that Tennessee went after Al Washington at Ohio State so aggressively when he had never been a play caller. So at least with a guy like Tim Banks, you get a guy who's done it before. Not an extremely proven coordinator, but he's done it, and I've heard much of what Jimmy's heard. Good person. He's going to get along well with players. It's just a matter of can he develop players and can he scheme, again, in a tough situation with an offense that's going to have some short possessions sometimes and really put defenses in a tough spot.
Chuck, one of the things that I thought was absolutely just goofy, the biggest knock on this guy when they hired him was he worked for Butch Jones at Central Michigan and Cincinnati. Coaches work with coaches. I don't think you can judge one coach by the staff he's been on. I found that to be nonsensical. But do you disagree? Do you think there's something
at some point you got to let that go. I mean, you like the fact that he's done well at different stops. Is he ready to be a defensive coordinator in the Southeastern Conference with an offense that may want to run 80 to 100 snaps a game? Adding him to the staff is one thing, but I would be lukewarm about as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I was when we were talking about head coaches, I wanted guys who'd been proven. Find me guys who had track records. Same thing for the coordinators, if possible. I just don't think it's possible. Not here at Tennessee right now.
The last thing
I don't think you're going to get positive. I don't think you're going to get a long resume positive head coach, and I don't think certainly on defense you were going to get a coordinator that was proven. I just think you were handcuffed this hiring cycle.
And then one thing to recruit well in Detroit, if you're trying to get a kid to go to Penn State, does that going to transfer to or work as well to get a kid from Detroit to come to Knoxville? Don't know.
I think it's a good thing they got him, though, because I think after Tim Banks, the list of options was getting pretty thin. I think that was kind of the last guy on the list that you felt good about. Beyond that, they might have been reaching, so I think it's good they got him to take the job.
Well, it was they made 2 runs at Matt House, apparently. They made 2 runs at Al Washington. We want you, no thanks. Here's another offer, no thanks. It was just, we tried to tell people it's a train wreck right now. And for all the celebration, woohoo, more changing, more firings, this didn't help in terms of the hiring situation.
Well, they talked to Casey Rogers. They talked to Brian Brown at Louisville. They talked to Blake Baker at LSU. All of them were, the way I perceive an offer, they were all offered. And when they say, hey, we'll give you this if you'll take the job. We'll give you a 3-year contract for $1.2 million if you'll take the job. And if they say no, I still see that as an offer. So they struck out with several people that they talked to that for a variety of reasons decided they didn't want to come to Tennessee.
Right.
And it sounds like they made multiple runs at Banks as well before he took the job.
Let's go back to the full screen. Chris, there we go. And I'll work on my laptop here. You've got Rodney Garner, we already knew that, defensive line coach who had been at Auburn. Of course, he was at Tennessee for a year under Fulmer in the 90s. Brian Jean-Marie from Michigan, linebackers coach. Was that finalized? Looks like they're trying to finalize it. Has anyone heard this morning if that one's actually contract signed at this point? I mean, Michigan's reporting it's done. It's being reported it's done down here. It's just, are the T's crossed and the I's dotted? Anybody know?
I don't know for sure that it has been, but I think the expectation is at least by tomorrow it will be.
He's a Charlie Strong guy. Is his background. He's been at Texas, been at Louisville, was the defensive coordinator at USF with Charlie Strong. And then you get Willie Martinez, who has been here before at Tennessee under Butch Jones. He was at UCF last year, defensive back coach. You still have one more slot to fill, and it'll be interesting to see how they do it. Do they have 2 different linebackers coaches? Does Banks work? Do you have 2 different secondary coaches? Is he one of those? Is he a walk-around guy? Do you hire a special teams coach? How do they handle it?
I think they may go special teams with somebody that also could help in another position. So maybe it is, I don't know, outside linebackers and special teams, but I do think they're going to look at somebody that has special teams coordinating experience.
And if you look at his UCF staff, he had Josh Heupel had a special teams coordinator that had no other title, so it's possible he could go that route. And this scheme doesn't necessarily dictate inside and outside linebackers. Playing a 4-2-5 or 4-3, a linebackers coach is probably enough there. And I think Tim Banks will coach safeties while Martinez coaches the corners, so probably no need for a second DBs coach either.
Do you give me what you like about the staff so far, or what you don't like? What stands out most? What do you like, or what do you dislike that you've seen?
I like the offensive staff.
Okay.
We had a chance to visit with them through Zoom, and I like what each of them said, whether it's quarterback coach, offensive line coach, receivers, running backs. I like their approach. In fact, we asked the quarterbacks coach if you would rank the 3 areas of the quarterbacks in terms of intelligence, accuracy, mobility, and he actually did it in that order: intelligence, accuracy, mobility, to run that kind of an offense that they want to run. But I was impressed with the staff that we had a chance to talk with.
I like that it's the common sense staff. It's continuity on offense where Josh Heupel is good. It's some bigger names and better recruiters on defense where you're less proven, and that's what anybody would have probably said Josh Heupel should do, and it's what he's done so far. I think Jean-Marie was a nice hire at linebackers coach, and I think Willie Martinez is a proven commodity, not a flashy recruiter, but he's going to get the job done in the secondary. So across the board, I think it's about what you would hope a Josh Heupel staff would look like.
Chuck, just very quickly, but one thing we're going to talk about down the road, we don't have time to get into it today, but one thing we'll talk about is when you look at this defense, we talked about the defensive coordinator and the type of offense you're going to run, we're going to have to look at how you cover this defense, because you can't, it's not going to be fair. You're going to have some sort of curve that we usually haven't had here, because if this defense is giving up 30 points a game, but they're winning every game 43-30, the defense is doing its job. We're not going to be able to look at the way we have in the past. I think that's going to be an interesting test for fans and for us in the media. How do you cover a defense that's going to be out there with its tongue hanging out when basically the goal is give me turnovers and sacks?
Exactly, and I think that's what you're going to be looking for. We've heard so much that you want an attacking defense. Well, then you got to be making some plays, because you're going to be giving up some yards just because you're going to be on the field long. You may give up a few more scores. But do you get more turnovers to get the ball back?
I just look at do you win and do you make a key stop when you need to.
Yeah.
Those would be two things.
It'll be very interesting when we're sitting in here with Will Overstreet next fall, and they've given up 48 points and won 49-48 for him to go, yeah, defense stole some possessions, and not be holding his nose that they gave up 500
Hey,
yards.
what did Al Davis say?
Just win, baby. There you go. Okay, when we come back, let's talk about the roster. There are people out there saying, this roster's good enough, you can win now. Other people are saying, the roster's awful. What's closer to the truth? Come on back.